Thank you so much, Gabe. Love that. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are we? Can we hear me? Yes. Okay, pretty loud. Good morning and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center Spokane, where we are all about our mission of, say it with me, transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. Yes. My name is Amber McKenzie. I will be your platform assistant this morning. If you could all please just take a moment to silence your cell phones, that would be greatly appreciated. And as always, we want to begin our time together with our opening affirmation. I will say it once and then ask you to repeat it with me. There is only one presence and one power, active in my life and in the universe, God the good. Together, there is only one presence and one power, active in my life and in the universe, God the good. This is Unity's foundation principle. One presence, one power, one life, living through and as each and every one of us. This morning, we are very excited to hear from our transformational speaker, Reverend Bonnie Barnard, and her message titled, Living the Good God Life. Reverend Bonnie will also be leading us in today's meditation. We are also being blessed musically this morning by the Gabe Lopano. Thank you, Gabe, for sharing your gifts of music with us today. Yes. But first, before we get to all that good stuff, we have some news you can use. A lot of it, actually. So get ready. Everybody take out your notes. You're going to want to take notes today because there is a lot to cover. First, as always, please sign up for our e-newsletter. Everything that I share up here will be in the e-news, and there will actually be more information, more details, links to maybe some forms to sign up for events and things coming up. So do that. If you need help with it, please come see me after services. I will sign you up. Or if you're having trouble finding the emails from us, I can also help with that as well. Okay, so first up, I have to say that the last time I shared information about the bylaw revision meeting, I guess it wasn't like, I wasn't as hyping it as much as I should. So I'm going to hype it today. Everybody go to the bylaw revision conversation after services. It's going to be really awesome. Is that better? Is that better? Seriously though, that is today. Members are invited to come and participate. It's today at 11:30, so just after services in the chapel. Sorry? 11:20 we're going to try to start. Okay, so 11:20, so just after services, go straight to the chapel. And that is where they will be discussing the revision conversation. And then there's going to be a special membership meeting. And that will be, the Board of Trustees is calling that, and that will be on June 12th after services as well. So that may be around 11:20, 11:30 as well. So stay tuned for more details about that special membership meeting to approve the bylaws, right? Yeah, okay. And okay, so next up we have the Sacred Steps Walk by the Earth Care Team, sponsored by the Earth Care Team. That will be next Sunday at 11:30. Again, that'll be after services. And they're recommending to carpool if you can. The e-news has more information about the location of the Palisades and directions. So check that out. And then if you can carpool, please do that. And you do not need to sign up for this. You can simply go, bring a sack lunch if you'd like to have lunch together afterwards. Okay, We've got 2 workshops coming up. The first will be on May 29th, which is a Sunday. That'll just be after services. I believe we're scheduled, 12:30 to 4:45. It is with Reverend Ron Palumbo. And so his workshop is called Using the Law of Attraction Wisely. And let's see, this workshop will help participants effectively slow the aging process, learn how to shape energy, direct energy, and also to heal and release old hurts and old wounds, eliminate bad programming in our subconscious mind, remove all negative energy between you and anyone else, experience stress relieving techniques that always work. So this workshop, again, will be 4 hours on May 29th, and up until May 23rd, the cost is $60, and then after the 23rd, it will be $75, and there are scholarships available. So if you are interested in this, please let me know, or sign up on the e-news. I think we're also going to put a sign-up sheet in the back, so after services, if you are interested, please come see me and we'll sign you up. Okay, the second workshop is a series. This is Heal Your Life workshop with Katherine Dietz. It's a 6-week series, so it will be 6 Tuesday evenings beginning on Tuesday, June 7th, and that is from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. here in the chapel. Also, so it'll be in person just like the previous one on May 29th. Over the course, so first of all, Katherine Dietz is a certified licensed Heal Your Life workshop leader and coach, and she has created this, or she is offering this workshop for those who are ready to have a deeper understanding of how to create a healthier and more loving relationship with yourself. It's based on the life-changing book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. So that is the book that will go along with the course. She says you will be using affirmations, meditations, visualizations, exercises, discussion, and sharing to implement and integrate this transformational work into your own life. There will also be reading assignments and additional love work from week to week. And the required reading, as we said, is You Can Heal Your Life. So we do have a sign up on our e-news. Spots are limited, so be sure to save yours. The cost is $180 for the 6-week series, which is a really good deal. And we do have scholarships available for this course as well. So there's no reason for anybody who wants to take the course to not be able to take the course. So do talk to me if you would like more information about the scholarship. Okay, finally, we have a really fun announcement. Guess whose anniversary it is? Oh, shoot. Caleb, will you go to the next slide? Happy anniversary to Alan and Diane Bassan. They've only been together for 46 years. Is that it? Come on, guys. No. Just barely together. So what's that?
He's halfway trained.
Maybe in 46 more years, he'll be full. Yeah, let's hope. Congratulations, you two. I love this this wedding picture. I can't stop staring at it, especially your glasses. Alan, those are really, really cool. Yeah, and the sideburns, of course. So congratulations, you two. I'm so sorry I skipped ahead. The bingo is still happening June 10th, and that is going to be here as well, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And please sign up for that as well. We want to make sure we know how many people will be in attendance. It's going to be a lot of fun, and that is, again, June 10th, 5:30 to 7:30. Oh, there's the slide. There will be snacks and fellowship and a lot of fun, so do sign up for that as well. Again, if any of these announcements you need more information, please come see me and I will sign you up. Okay, now we have, that was a lot, I know. We have a board update with Joan Breckling. Come on up.
Well, good morning. I'm sorry to follow all of that with more, so take a deep breath. Let it go. It's all registered and it's all in the e-news. So as far as the board update goes, a couple things I can do more quickly because Amber already did them, so that's good. The board has decided to reinstitute our board listener program, which is something we've done in the past, where there will be a board member on the first Sunday of each month after services in the library. And anybody who has a question or a comment, a suggestion that you'd like to share with, have them share with the board, please meet with that person. And also, if you are online, or if you just don't have time to stop and talk individually, you can always email us at board@unityspokane.org. So we are very open to your input. We are all a collaborative community, and so we need everyone's input. Let's see, I wanted to just quickly let you know that we are revising the ministerial listing, and that will be coming out hopefully in the next couple of weeks, that will be resubmitted to Unity Worldwide and will change. It'll just be updated for who we are now and also our increased salary offer. So we're hoping that that will generate some new interest fairly soon. Music director search is in process still, but it's considerably slowed down. We had a couple of people withdraw. Actually, technically, all of the applicants we thought we had have withdrawn for one reason or another. We're hoping that one of them might still be with us if you're watching. But we're working on that. And the team, I just want to say a lot of appreciation for both of those search teams, the ministerial search team and the music director search team. The people on those teams have just been above and beyond in the work that they've been doing to help us get where we need to be. Let's see. The bookstore area, or the whole restoration area, if you glanced at it, is coming along. The painting is complete. The baseboards are getting ready to be put down. We're beginning to do the planning for what the bookstore/gift shop will be, as well as we're looking at the possibilities for the area, looking at it on the right where the bookshelves, built-in bookshelf used to be, having that become a little art gallery, maybe a rotating art gallery with Unity and other local artists. So if there's anyone here who would be interested in helping us to really coordinate that art gallery part, please let Amber or myself or Deanna know after the service. Or you can email us if you are out there watching us. And finally, I'm wearing a different hat. I'm taking off the board hat and putting on my Unitine sponsor hat. Our Unitines are our 5th to 8th graders, and they have completed a wonderful art project that is for the Global Art Project for Peace, is what it's called. It's an international project. We have a partner in China, and the kids have created a puzzle that they're calling Building Peace, Piece by Piece. And so it will be available for you to see out on the big table in the fellowship area after the service. And then we'll package it up this week and send it off to China. Well, thank you.
I want to dedicate this next song. It's an original song that I've written. This is for Diane and Alan, specifically, and for everybody else, too.
I believe in you. let your sun shine through. Oh, I believe in you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Hello, my name is Reverend Bonnie, and it is my absolute delight and pleasure to be with you here today and to talk about living the life of God and living the life of good. And we're going to begin in prayer to anchor this knowing today. So let's just close our eyes. And I just want to give thanks that right where I am, God is. That right where each and every person in this sanctuary is, God is. That right where each and every person watching as a live streamer stands or sits in the divine presence of God the good, it is everywhere present. And so we take a moment to acknowledge this, to feel into this, to remember this. So that today, as we receive this message, we do so from a space of open and expanded listening. And so for this, I do give thanks. And so it is, amen. So I'd like to begin today with a poem that was written by Theophane the monk out of Snowmass, Colorado. The first time I read his book, The Magic Monastery, I loved it so much. This was in the 90s. I jumped in my car and drove to Snowmass and spent a weekend with him and all the Benedictine monks praying and meditating. So here's this poem, excuse me. It's called The Magic Monastery. The first time I went to the Magic Monastery, I forgot to bring my Bible. When I asked the guest master if I could borrow a Bible, he said, "Wouldn't you care to write your own?" "What do you mean?" "Well, write your own Bible, something of your own in the order of the Bible. You could tell of a classic bondage and the great liberation, a promised land, sacred songs, a Messiah, that kind of thing. Ought to be more interesting than just reading somebody else's Bible. And you might learn more." Well, I set to work. It took me a month. I learned so much about that official Bible. When I finished, he recommended that I take it home and try to live according to it for a year. It was quite a year, an eye-opener. Most certainly, I'd never put so much energy and alertness into living my official Bible as I was putting into living this one. And my daily meditations had never been so concentrated. When I arrived back for my next retreat, the guest master greeted me very warmly. He took into his hands my Bible and my journal, and he kissed them with the greatest reverence and told me that I could spend a couple of days and nights in the hall of the great fire. On the last night of the year, I should co-sign my 2 books into the flames. That's what I did. A whole year's wisdom and labor into the great fire. Afterward, he sent me to writing another Bible. And so it went, these past 40 years. Each year a new Bible, a new journal, and then at the end of the year, into the flames. So I want to talk a little bit about this thing that is a sacred text that we call the Bible. And I want to start by saying that we're all familiar when we talk about the Bible, typically in this area of the world, we're talking about the sacred text that begins with Genesis and ends with Revelation, and we pretty much have agreed what goes in the middle, in between those pages. However, there's a whole slew of books here that were never canonized into the Anglican Bible. There are 29 additional books that did not make it in. I thought I had remembered from ministerial school that the decisions on what made it into the Bible or not came from the Council of Nicaea. However, when I went back to review it, so I would not give you incorrect information, what I discovered was that that was not true. That actually good notes, a paper trail was not kept as to why certain books made it into the Bible and why other ones did not. So we really have no idea how this happened. So what happened at the Council of Nicaea that I wanted to point out as a side note, because it's so exciting to me, is that it happened in 325 AD, and Christianity had taken off like wildfire, and there were just as many different divisions of Christianity as you can imagine, since it was organically grown. And so the bishops decided they needed to come together and come up with what Christianity really meant, what its doctrine was. And out of this gathering at Nicaea came the Nicene Creed, for those of you who are familiar with it. The big insight from that came was they spent the majority of that meeting trying to decide if Jesus was born of God's substance, begotten and not made, if you remember from the Nicene Creed. They're trying to know if Jesus was begotten of God's substance or if Jesus was man. And that's because in Aramaic, words can be determined, they can be read in multiple ways. So what's so beautiful about the Aramaic language is that it isn't linear like English is. And so one word can mean 4, 5, 6 things. So the words in the Bible could be interpreted as Jesus was of the substance of God, or it could have been interpreted that Jesus is man. So what would this council decide? What would they put their stamp on? And what thrills me today is that you and I live in the consciousness of the quantum physics. We have quantum physics consciousness, and we know that what that means is that both can be true at the same time. We no longer are in a place of either or. Today, we would not have to convene that council and say, was Jesus made of God's stuff? Did Jesus come from light? Or was Jesus man? We could say, hey, wait a minute. We understand the quantum field. All of it is true. Wave and particle coexist. So, enough of that side note, which was kind of fun, is that here's the lost books of the Bible. Most of these lost books are in the Apocrypha, which is the Catholic Bible. And then we have the forgotten books of Eden, and these are Ethiopian texts. In addition to all of this, in our lifetime, we have had a whole bunch of new discoveries that have come with their own translations. And so we have the Berline Codex, which includes in it the Gospel of Mary, which I reread this weekend and is really delicious. We have Sophia of Jesus Christ. We have Apocrypha of John. I know I said that wrong. We have the Act of Peter. Then we have all the Dead Sea Scrolls. And just last year, more Dead Sea Scroll fragments were found. We have the Nag Hammadi Library. And then we have the Gospel of Judas, which is also really good reading. And I mean that sincerely, because we learn how close Jesus and Judas was and the agreement between the two of them for the betrayal that was made in advance. So I wonder, why are we just starting to find all of this stuff in recent history? And so I went online to look at where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, and this is a picture of those caves. And you can imagine, probably for our grandkids' lifetimes, they're still going to be digging around in there and finding stuff. Okay, so this is the conclusion that I make from all of this. And that is that there are more gospels that are always revealed, more good news, more stories of what life is like before being activated by the love of God, and stories of what life is like on the other side of that activation. And that I haven't even counted in here all of the other scriptures that would come from other religions. This is just Christianity. And then in Christianity, as you and I know from going onto Google and looking up scriptures, is that we have got a trove of different interpretations that we can choose from. So we've got all of the books. We have all the books left out. We have all the books that we're finding. We have all the books from the other religions. So in other words, I take all of this to mean that The mystic said, and I agree, God is everywhere present and the story is ever active. It is alive today as it has always been. So, back when I was a sophomore in college, I went to Americus, Georgia and built houses for Habitat for Humanity. And that was 1992. My parents were going through a divorce. It was extraordinarily painful for my little psyche. In 1982, believe it or not, in my neighborhood, my parents were the first ones to get divorced. And so it was so shameful to be a child of divorce. And what that looked like was that I couldn't play with a lot of friends I'd played with because it could be contagious. Don't tell anyone. This is 1982. And when my sister and I, or my father and I, would go into a grocery store, people who had known us for years would look at us and turn and hide in aisles so as not to have to look at us because they didn't know what to say. So I was so riddled with shame and with, and 1982, there weren't a lot of therapists. People weren't going to a lot of therapy. That wasn't on the radar. So what happened was I was left with this broken heart and I didn't know what to do. So I went down to my church and I said to the minister, I want to go on a mission and help other people. So I went back to Americus, Georgia to build houses for a summer with Habitat for Humanity. While I was there, I discovered a version of the Bible that is so much fun. It was written by a local Georgian, and it's called the Cotton Patch version of the Bible. The guy who wrote its name is Clarence Jordan. He went to Ministerial school. He got a master's degree in Greek and did not solely an interpretation into English, but he worked with inner city poor people in Georgia, which I can tell you from being back in the 80s, inner city poor Georgian people were really poor. And he wanted to have a gospel that made sense to them, so he wrote it in their context. And so just for fun, I'm going to read you a little bit of it. This is chapter 2 from 1 John, and he calls John Jack. So 1 Jack, chapter 2. Children of mine, I'm writing to you like this so you won't go wrong. However, if a person does go wrong, we have a fair-minded lawyer, Jesus Christ, to represent us before the Father. He indeed is the bondsman for our misdeeds, not for ours alone, but also for those of the whole world as well. And the reason we are sure that we are his client is that we act on his orders. The person who says, I am his client, and doesn't act on his instructions is a phony who simply is not telling the truth. But the person who follows his advice is the one in whom the love of God has matured. Isn't that beautiful? The person who follows Jesus' advice is the one where the love of God has matured. That's how we can tell if we are Christians. Anyone who claims to be a Christian is obliged to live the same life that he lived. That's the Cotton Patch version. Then I would come to meet a man from the Pacific Northwest here who's a Native American. He grew up in the Yakima tribe. He became a Methodist minister, and his name is Roy Wilson. Has he ever crossed any of your paths? Okay, great. He wrote this book, The Gospel According to Matthew. And he did the same thing where he grounded his scripture in today and in a new context. So I'm going to read the introduction for you and chapter 2 of Matthew, a couple paragraphs. So early one morning as I was lifting off on a flight from SeaTac International Airport to Washington, D.C., a question crossed my mind. What if Jesus had been born only 65 years ago in a little obscure Indian village of Puget Sound, instead of nearly 2,000 years ago in a little obscure village in the Middle East? They claim that Matthew wrote his gospel story approximately 65 years after the birth of Jesus. It is now time for Matthew to write or rewrite his story. The question then becomes, Matthew, how are you going to write that very same story with the only difference being cultural? What will that story sound like? Will it change the story at all? What kind of feelings would one have while reading the story in this cultural setting? This question fascinated me, and I began to write. Bethlehem became Suquamish, a small Indian village in the Puget Sound. Joseph and Mary became Joe White Eagle and Mary Singing Waters. The donkey as a means of transportation was replaced with the canoe. Sheep and sheep herding, the basis of the economy in the ancient Middle East settled, was replaced with fishing and fishermen. The angels are spirit messengers. Jerusalem, the capital, became Olympia, our capital. Who is the trickster who confronted Jesus in the wilderness, and who are these two religious orders of the day replacing the Pharisees and Sadducees of the ancient day and time? Well, you must read to see for yourself. So here's a little bit of chapter 2. And he calls Jesus Jesus, which is the Native American word for Jesus. When Jesus was born in Suquamish, Washington, during the time that Herod was governor, some holy men from the east came to Olympia and asked, "Where is the one who was born to be governor of Washington? We saw the great chief of the above star in the Yakima and Colville country, and we came to honor the child." This news put the governor and all of his Olympia cronies in a tizzy. So he called a meeting of the big-time preachers and politicians and asked if they had any idea where the leader was born. "In Suquamish, Washington," they replied, "because there's an old legend which says, 'And you, Suquamish, in the state of Washington, are by no means the least in the Washington delegation. From you will come forth a governor who will wisely guide my chosen people.'" Then the governor called in the holy men privately and questioned them in detail about the exact time of the star's appearance. And he sent them off to Suquamish with his instruction, "Go and find the facts about the child, then tell me what you've learned, so that I too may come and honor the child." They listened to the governor and left, and the star which they saw in the Yakima and Colville County went ahead of them until it came and stood above the place where the child was. Just looking at the star filled them with happiness. So they went inside the long house and saw the baby with his mother, Mary Singing Waters. They bowed down and honored the child with a potlatch, giving gifts of salmon, knick, eagle feathers, and the sacred cedar. And having received the word in a dream not to revisit the governor in Olympia, they went back to their own county by another trail. And so then we know that Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, created this absolute masterpiece, the Metaphysical Bible, which I have used forever in my talks. And what was so brilliant about his work is that he reminds us that all of these stories are not an external experience, but an internal awareness. He reminds us that all of the names in the Bible reside not in history, but reside within our own being. And he tells us what those energy fields are, what those qualities are. And he names places as state of consciousness. So he calls Jerusalem the place of peace. So when we enter Jerusalem, we are entering a consciousness internally of peace. When he speaks of John, he speaks of the quality of love that exists within each one of us. When he speaks of Luke, he speaks of an illuminated light that is living within you and is living within me. So he has done this wonderful, wonderful body of work that says all of these stories don't bring value unless we understand and know that they are the very road within our own being. He created a consciousness roadmap, which is really quite delicious. So we come back to the story of, let's see. There we go. So we come back to the original question, what if your story is the next gospel? What if your story is the next good news? And we could call it the gospel according to, and fill in your name. So I am the gospel according to Reverend Bonnie, the gospel according to Abe, each one of us has our own gospel story to talk about our liberation from that which held us confined in some way. So, as I'm closing here, I want to do two things before we enter into meditation. One is that I want to give you a start for writing your own Bible. During your next meditative, contemplative time period, I want to remind you, which you already know, is that God is always present all the time, everywhere. So we can literally sit down and say, what activity happened today? And what was the energy behind that activity that had to happen in order for this to birth? And if you sit with this in your contemplation, your mind will be blown and your heart will be open. So here's an example. What had to happen for today to happen here? Well, I had to be asked to speak. Okay, I said yes to speaking. But what did it take for me to be able to be up here and to speak today? Well, I had my first direct experience of God at age 5. That had to happen. I had to love God and be so curious about this thing that we call God that I went to ministerial school and studied it. I then went into the ministry, taught, preached, wrote books, did my thing because it meant so much to me. But for me to be here today, my daughter and her family had to move here with my grandkids, and I had to love them and miss them so much that I would come. And so 5 years ago, they moved here. Well, what had to happen for them to do this? The two of them had to meet at age 12 and age 14, fall in love, decide that they're going to end up getting married in their late 20s, early 30s, have 3 kids, decide to move across the country, come here to Spokane. I had to miss them so much that I would show up and be here. What then had to happen to bring you here? Who did you have to meet to find to be able to come here to Unity? What turned on inside of your heart, and what is your story that brought you coming back over and over and over again? If you're new for the first time, what is it that brought you here? Were you dragged here by somebody? Were you promised brunch afterward? Were you yearning to know what it feels like to have your body filled with light energy? What is it that brought you here? And then, you know what? Your last ministers had to retire for me to be standing here today. What did they have to do? Well, they had to go to ministerial school and have a ministry. I heard them speak several times. They were fantastic. I used to bring my grandkids and I would sneak in here and listen. They were wonderful, and they had to move on. But they had to have their whole path that brought them here. And then how did that path have to happen? It had to start with Myrtle Fillmore getting tuberculosis and not being able to get it healed. She had to meet E.B. Weeks in order to get the message that affirmative prayer worked. When we sit and we look at everything that had to happen for me to be standing here today, for you to be here today, for us to be creating this field together, it's phenomenal. Who had to create this microphone? Oh my goodness. And then we have this lovely man who's back there orchestrating everything electronically. What's his background? That literally it's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of God the good, screaming at us all day long if we are bold enough to listen. If we are bold enough to acknowledge it, if we are willing to recognize the allness of God, and then we know how rich we are, how incredibly rich we are. It is just absolutely fantastic. So I give you that opportunity, that invitation to bring that with you into meditation and into your contemplation at home. And we are now going to meditate together for a few moments. I've asked Gabe to accompany me with some music in the background. I am going to reread this beautiful piece of work by Theophane the monk, who is no longer with us in physical form, but he had to have his journey to be here so that I could read it today. Right? So it goes on and on and on. The good does not end. So let's go ahead and go into meditation together. The first time I went to the magic monastery, I forgot to bring my Bible. When I asked the guest master if I could borrow a Bible, he said, "Wouldn't you care to write your own?" "What do you mean?" "Well, write your own Bible, something of your own on the order of a Bible. You could tell of a classic bondage and a great liberation, a promised land, sacred songs, a Messiah, that kind of thing. Ought to be more interesting than just reading someone else's Bible. You might learn more." Well, I set to work. It took me a month. I learned so much about the official Bible. When I finished, he recommended I take it home and try to live according to it for a year. It was quite a year. An eye-opener. Most certainly, I had never put so much energy and alertness into living my official Bible as I put into living this one, and my daily meditations had never been so concentrated. When I arrived back the next year at the retreat, the guest master greeted me very warmly, took it into his hand my Bible and my journal, kissed them, and with the greatest reverence he told me I could spend a couple of days and nights in the hall of the great fire. On the last night of the year, I could co-sign my 2 books to the flames, and that's what I did. The whole year's wisdom and labor into the great fire. Afterward, he sent me to writing another Bible, and so it went. These past 40 years, each new Bible, a new journal, and then at the end of the year, into the flames. And so we close this talk the same way we began, with knowing that all there is God. That right where we are, God is. The potency of God is alive right where you are, right where I am, right where the live streamers are. There is a divine presence within us, between us, and amongst us. And I give thanks for this divine awareness. We come into this presence with whatever request it is that's on our heart. What we seeks us. And so on behalf of all of us that are asking for body healing, I speak my word right here and right now that God is right where we are. For all of those of us who are looking for right work, I speak my word that the divine employment agency is right where we are. For those of us who are heartbroken, I speak my word that the support of God in all of its various ways is right where we are, and love is everywhere present. Everywhere present. For those of us who believe in loss, I claim restoration. For those of us who struggle, I claim certainty. For this goodness and glory of God says yes, 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 and yes. And so we close aware of our wholeness and knowing that this good that we call God is right where we are and is plentiful. And so it is. Amen.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds, had me blind. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue sky. Look straight ahead, nothing but blue sky. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And it's all right.
Thank you so much, Reverend Bonnie. That was amazing. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's super excited to get home and start writing our gospel. Gospel according to Amber. I'm on it. Seriously, that was very, very inspiring. Let's give her a round of applause as well. Thank you. And also, Gabe Lopano. Amazing music, per usual. Love it. Okay. Unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of injury, for forgiveness in the for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names for God, the many paths to God, for we know that there is only one power, one presence, one life. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey of transformation, you are welcome here. If there's anyone here for the first time and feels comfortable raising your hand, we would love to say hello and offer you a free coffee from our barista stand. So is anyone here for the first time? Anyone? No? Okay, that's cool. You're all welcome here too, the ones who are repeat customers. For those of you joining us online, as well as those in the sanctuary, if you have not been receiving our e-newsletter, we highly encourage you to start. And you can do that by scanning that QR code you see up on the screen, and then signing up for our e-news, which comes out every Wednesday and shares more information about our amazing transformational speakers, workshops, events, etc. Okay, so we also would love to connect with you on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can just search Unity Spiritual Center Spokane to find us. So thank you all for joining us today. Now let's take a moment to acknowledge and bless one another with a hug, a high five, a socially distanced namaste, wave, whatever you're most comfortable with. Feel free to stand as you are able and send your loving energy to those around you. You got 1 minute, though. Don't go crazy. Counting down. 10 seconds. All right, let's wrap it up, everybody. No pressure, but wrap it up. All right. We'll have more time to socialize after the service. Hey, by the way, Gabe Lapana will have his CDs on a table in the back if anyone's interested. They're only $10. So he's going to have his CDs back just on that table around the whatever, I don't know, the glass area. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for, atrium. Around the atrium. So do visit with Gabe after services as well. Okay, but now it is our time to celebrate abundance together as we share our tithes and love offerings. If you would like to give virtually today, please text the amount of your donation to our text to give number, which is 509-215-2552. And then for those of you in the sanctuary, our ushers will go around with love offering bags. So I invite you to hold your offering in your hand, or if you are a monthly giver, to hold that in your heart today as we say together our love offering blessing. Together, I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share. And we'll hear a song by Gabe Lapano. Give thanks. God the good, thank you for these gifts and for those who have given them as we send them forward in continued service to our mission of transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. Thank you, Spirit, and so it is. Amen. Our chaplains today are Al and Gary, who have been holding the service in prayer for us, either here in the sanctuary or from home. Is Al around? Oh, there's Al, right in the front row. Yes, Al will be available to pray with you immediately following the service. So if you have something that is heavy on your heart or that you would like to celebrate, please come see Al. He'll be right up here at the front of the sanctuary following the peace song. We would also like to encourage anyone who is in need of prayer support to complete a prayer request form that you can find in that seat pocket in front of you or on the table as you enter the sanctuary. Please fill that out and put it in one of our prayer boxes. We have one right here and then just outside around the atrium. Know that word now. You can also submit your request online through our website. You can just go to unityspokane.org. Names are added to our prayer list and are prayed over for 30 days, both by us here, by our amazing prayer team here, as well as Silent Unity. So lots of prayer support. Please, please, please avail yourself to it. Kids. Our kids maybe have arrived. I've not heard anything, but that could change. Let's sing them in with Walking in the Light.
I'm walking. I am walking in the light, in the light, in the light. I am walking in the light, in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God. I'm walking as the light. I am walking as the light, as the light, as the light. I am walking as the light, as the light of God. As the light, 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 as the light of God.
Hi, kids and young adults. How are we? Looking good? We are just so blessed to have such an amazing youth ministry here at Unity Spiritual Center. So let's take a moment to bless our youth and those in service to our youth ministry with our children's blessing that we can say together. Be the love you are, sing the song you hear, share your joy of life with people far and near. And for ourselves, be the love we are, sing the song we hear, share our joy of life with people far and near. Awesome. Okay, you guys can find your people, your peeps. Awesome. Wow, that was very quick and orderly. Good job, everybody. Okay, and now please stand as you are able and join together for our closing prayer for protection, followed by the peace song. Together we affirm, the light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And that's the truth.